Welcome back. Now, there was in some circles a hope that once a trade deal was done and the UK left the transition period ended, Brexit would be done. Well, far from it. We heard last week that exports to the EU had dropped by more than 40% in January. But a new study of its business customers by Santander shows that confidence is rising among UK firms and that they're keen to expand overseas, even though more than a third say that Brexit has pushed up trading costs. Well, joining me now is the head of international and transaction banking at Santander UK, that's John Carroll, and also joined by the managing director of Plum Projects, Paul Schaffer. Welcome to you both, gentlemen. John, let me start with you. I mean, I guess the really encouraging aspect of this survey is that 2/3 of UK businesses are optimistic about growth over the next couple of years.
Yes, and it's highest amongst those companies which are trading internationally. And we have seen that Brexit is definitely biting. We'll talk about that. One of their very 5 companies is saying it's no longer viable for them to trade or export to Europe. But 95% of international trading companies say trade will be more or as important moving forward. And so they are starting to look beyond Europe. And now North America is the primary source of growth for the first time for UK exporters.
Does this mean necessarily that UK exporters are turning their backs on the EU?
Well, still 80% are saying they will still trade. And I think there is an element of teething problems out there. Companies are still coming to grips with what's required. And I think we also, even though we say Brexit is done, it will evolve. There are still 25 committees which will look at anything from organic products to public procurement. And I think there are ways we can help those companies with those burdens. We, for example, do regulatory compliance courses. We help broker customs agents, and for some companies, they will need to set up overseas in Europe to access those markets. So it will be more difficult, but I don't think they'll turn their back on the market.
John, what's driven this increased focus on international trade? Is it partly down to COVID?
Well, it is, but also the fact that if you are only dependent on your domestic market, then you have all your eggs in one basket. So even though international trading companies have indeed been impacted over the past year, it has been noticeably less than pure domestic companies. So the more you have your eggs spread, the more likely you are to be resilient. And also, to be fair, we'll hear from Paul, the international trading companies tend to be the most resilient, the most entrepreneurial. So there's a natural desire to go beyond your current borders.
Well, Paul, let me bring you in. You obviously supply outdoor play equipment. What's been your experience in recent months?
In recent months, we've seen a big surge in demand for our products overall, because as people are spend more time outdoors and with their children. However, the Brexit situation has presented itself with some logistical problems. However, we are still forecasting to do double-digit growth within Europe, and along with that, we're just sort of dealing with the challenges as it's coming. I think one of the crucial bits for us is trying to work out what's a teething issue and what's here to stay.
Right. I mean, what's the breakdown in terms of your international business? What are the key markets for you?
The key markets for us are North America, and that's going to continue to be a key market. However, there's still 200 million Europeans that we still want to be servicing, and we want to continue to grow that side. And we're 40 different countries overall at the moment.
And are you having more hassle dealing with the EU?
It's certainly presented itself with some challenges that at the moment we currently feel like we're putting some plasters on situations to ensure that there's no shortage in supply. We're going through that at the moment. However, for us, it's looking forward as to changing the routes to market and how we actually facilitate the logistical challenges in order to not bring the consumer cost up.
So is it import or export issues that are of most concern to you?
It's actually presented a bit of both, depending on what the item is. Getting goods from the Far East, for example, into the UK and then out into Europe has had some teething problems. However, the logistical costs across at the moment are all, whilst we're going through the teething process, have increased just because it's taking longer at the borders, and people's understanding at the moment of what's happening with what documentation you need at each place with the T1 forms or different sort of forms is causing a bit of a transition on that front.
John, looking at other aspects of your survey today, if I look at the regional aspects, confidence up in all parts of the UK apart from Wales and the West Country. What's holding them back, do you think?
Right, I think it's been some of the sectors which they do have a strong food and drink sectors in those parts of the country. And I think if we look at the sectorial impact, the food and drink sector is probably the one which has been most impacted due to not only the forms required by everybody to trade, but they then have additional forms they need to fill out, a veterinary verification, a whole bunch of other very sector-specific aspects. So I think it's the nature of the exporting sectors in that part of the world which makes it so complicated.
And John, what about the types of requests you're getting from clients right now to facilitate and service their international businesses? Are there any trends that you're picking up on?
Well, the companies, interestingly, the real positive point we've seen here is that 27% of companies have used COVID well, and they see digital transformation as an opportunity to grow internationally. So what we're seeing is that companies cannot travel. They need to get new contracts, get new buyers. And so what we've done over the last year, we've done about 100 connectivity events, which have been virtual last year rather than physical, and we continue to do that this year. So we're trying to connect them as much as possible to at least start that trade facilitation. We're also seeing a real strong interest in e-commerce and companies. We had a great example of a bike company, as a real niche, fantastic bike company, which at the beginning of COVID could not open due to the lockdown. But we've been able to set them up with a e-commerce platform, some analytics telling them where there is interest in their markets from around the world, and now they have 25% of their sales internationally. So there's the sort of things which we are seeing in terms of that sort of underpins the positive nature of the survey.
All right, John and Paul, good to talk to you both this morning. Thanks very much for joining me.